The Young and the Restless spoilers. Sharon's confession, a quest for redemption. Sharon Newman's life had spiraled out of control, her name tangled in accusations of murder, betrayal, and manipulation. With Heather's death and the fallout that ensued, Sharon found herself at the center of Genoa City's latest scandal. Her guilt, compounded by the pressure from her friends and family, became too much to bear. And now, with Phyllis Summers recovering from her own ordeal, Sharon took a bold step, a visit that would change everything. A tense visit. Phyllis Summers had just been discharged from the hospital, her strength returning slowly but surely. As she settled back into her home, the last thing she expected was a knock on the door from Sharon Newman. Summer Newman, fiercely protective of her mother, immediately stepped in to block Sharon's entry. "You've done enough, Sharon," Summer snapped. "You're not welcome here." But Phyllis, despite her daughter's protests, was curious. There was something about Sharon's desperation that piqued her interest. Against Summer's wishes, Phyllis allowed Sharon inside. Her voice was firm but cold. "All right, Sharon, you have 5 minutes. Say what you came to say." What followed was a storm of accusations and recriminations. Phyllis didn't hold back, her words cutting deep. "You killed Heather. You set Daniel up to take the fall. And let's not forget, you almost killed me too." Phyllis hissed, her voice filled with anger and pain. "What's next, Sharon? Who else are you going to destroy?" Sharon, visibly shaken, didn't defend herself. Instead, her face crumpled with guilt. Tears welled in her eyes as she murmured, "I never meant for any of this to happen, but it doesn't matter. I deserve everything coming to me." Michael's intervention. Just as the tension between Sharon and Phyllis reached its peak, Michael Baldwin arrived, having heard about Sharon's visit. His presence brought a temporary calm, though the air was still thick with hostility. "Enough," Michael said firmly, stepping between the two women. "This isn't solving anything." Turning to Sharon, he added, "If you're serious about taking responsibility, I can represent you. But only if you're willing to cooperate. Let's do this the right way, with a trial." Sharon, however, was resolute in her decision. "No, Michael, no trial. I don't want to fight this. I want to face the consequences, all of them." Her words stunned everyone in the room. Even Phyllis, who moments earlier had been lashing out, looked momentarily taken aback. Sharon's self-loathing and determination to accept punishment were palpable. Sharon's refusal of redemption. Michael tried to reason with Sharon, explaining the importance of due process and the possibility that she might not be entirely to blame. But Sharon shook her head, her voice trembling. "I can't live with this guilt anymore. I need to pay for what I've done." Phyllis, despite her anger, saw something in Sharon's demeanor that gave her pause. She'd always believed Sharon was hiding something, but this raw display of self-recrimination made her question whether Sharon was truly guilty, or if she was simply carrying the weight of someone else's sins. "Sharon," Phyllis said softly, her tone less harsh than before. "If you didn't do this, if someone else is behind all of this, then giving up isn't going to fix anything." Sharon, however, was unwavering. "It doesn't matter, Phyllis. I was a part of it, whether I meant to be or not. And now, I have to answer for it." A voluntary surrender. True to her word, Sharon made her way to the police station that same evening. Walking into the precinct, she requested to speak with an officer and, in a calm yet broken voice, confessed to everything. The detectives were taken aback, as Sharon's confession seemed too straightforward, too easy, for a case as complex as Heather's murder. "I don't want a trial," Sharon insisted. "I don't want lawyers. I just want to accept my punishment and move on." The officers, bound by protocol, had no choice but to arrest Sharon and begin the process of formal charges. News of her confession spread quickly, leaving Genoa City in shock. Many believed her guilt, while others questioned her motives. Was Sharon truly responsible, or was she shielding someone else? Phyllis's determination to uncover the truth. Phyllis, despite her initial satisfaction at seeing Sharon face the consequences, began to feel uneasy. Something didn't sit right with her. Sharon's behavior, while remorseful, seemed almost too convenient, and Phyllis couldn't ignore the nagging feeling that someone else might be pulling the strings. Determined to get to the bottom of it, Phyllis began piecing together the events leading up to Heather's death. She revisited old conversations, examined the evidence, and uncovered discrepancies that pointed to a larger conspiracy. The real culprit, she suspected, was still out there. "This isn't over," Phyllis declared to Michael during a private meeting. "Sharon may think she's guilty, but I'm not so sure. Someone set her up, and I'm going to find out who." The fallout of Sharon's confession. Sharon's confession sent shockwaves through her family and friends. Nick Newman, her former husband, was devastated. "Why would she just give up like this?" he asked Michael, struggling to comprehend Sharon's actions. There has to be more to the story. Even Phyllis, who had every reason to despise Sharon, couldn't ignore the possibility that she was an innocent woman taking the fall for someone else. The idea that Sharon might be sacrificing herself to protect someone she cared about, or that she had been manipulated into believing her own guilt, gnawed at her. As Sharon awaited sentencing, the people closest to her wrestled with their own guilt and confusion. Nick, Mariah, and Tessa all questioned whether they had done enough to support Sharon or if their doubts had pushed her into this desperate act. A glimmer of hope, Phyllis's investigation began to yield results. She uncovered inconsistencies in the timeline of Heather's death and found evidence suggesting that Sharon had been manipulated by an unknown third party. The real mastermind, it seemed, had carefully orchestrated events to frame Sharon while staying hidden in the shadows. As Phyllis shared her findings with Michael, a sense of urgency took hold. They needed to act quickly to prevent Sharon from being sentenced for crimes she didn't commit. But convincing Sharon to fight for her innocence would be no easy task. A new chapter for Sharon. Sharon's decision to confess and accept punishment was born out of a desire for redemption, but it also reflected her deep despair. While she may have believed that taking responsibility would bring her peace, those who loved her knew it was a mistake. With Phyllis and Michael leading the charge, there was still hope for Sharon to clear her name and reclaim her life. The journey ahead would be fraught with challenges, but it was also a chance for Sharon to find healing, not through punishment, but through the truth.